Hi, we're going to think today about the pressure of exams on our neurodiverse pupils. Exam time is massively pressurized for anyone, but if you're living with a condition such as autism or ADHD or sensory processing issues, anything that comes under that bracket of neurodiverse, then there are added stresses. So today we're going to look at 4 helpful tips, or as we like to call them, 4 nuggets, to help you support those pupils. First of all, under our heading of imagination fracture, this is, we wake up every morning and we're thinking, what is coming up this morning? What's happening today? What is today going to be like? And if you live with neurodiversity, this is a huge area of anxiety anyway. And then throw in the issue and the pressure of exams, this is made even worse. So my first nugget is make sure that you're thinking ahead with those pupils and that you're practicing well ahead of time. And I don't mean just practicing the papers. This can be a season of a lot of uncertainty. So it's really important that you spend a lot of time with each individual pupil, looking at what is this going to be like? Where am I going to sit? What will be expected of me? If you have a pupil who needs, for example, a bit of a break in the middle of his work, is there a way of continuing that for that pupil? But it's really, really important that time and time again, you have that opportunity to work through with your pupils how this is going to look. And the best way to do that, my top tip, is to make it very visual. So whether that's a social story, whether it's cue cards to remind them, but really work through with them. Now, I'm not talking about starting from September for summer exams. You don't want to be bringing that pressure right from the start. I'm talking about from Easter onwards, after the Easter break, just making it part of every day. And actually, the best thing you can do with coping with that sense of what's happening next is to make it for the whole class. Don't just pick out the 1 or 2 that you're particularly concerned about, but for the whole class, every day, a little bit extra. What does it look like? Where will we be sat? What if I need some water? What if? So that's my first nugget, looking at imagination fracture. My second nugget, I'm going to look at under the title of emotional overwhelm. They reckon that about 33% of our Year 6s preparing for their SATs in May suffer from severe, genuine anxiety. And under the rules of access arrangements, anxiety and mental health does come into that. So I want to be supporting my pupils for whom anxiety is an issue. Or again, any of our neurodiverse pupils will have those points that bring them to that overwhelming moment with their emotions. So again, my nugget number 2 is to think creatively. What does each person need? And again, if you make it for the whole class, for your whole group, it's a big ask, but it can be done creatively. So how does, in particular, how does any pupil who has, let's say, autism, how do I help them anyway in the classroom situation? How can I make that part of this exam season as well? So it's about thinking creatively. I know there are lots of rules and regulations, especially around GCSEs and A-levels, but can we be a little flexible and a little bit creative? For example, can they have a fiddle toy? Can they have a scribble pad? Can they have those rests with someone in attendance? In addition to the other access arrangements that we're able to use. My third nugget, under the title of language of assumption. We all know that all our subjects in school have their own vocabulary, their own language. And it's really important that we ensure that our neurodiverse pupils understand exactly what we're expecting of them. And also any pictures and images, any signage that's around during exam time, that it's relevant, that it looks like what you're trying to say. So my third nugget is to ensure, again, I would recommend very practically, very visually, that our pupils understand the language that we're using. So for example, what do we mean by describe or compare or evaluate or discuss? Can we have some cue cards that will help them remember what it is that we mean by those things? So again, it's a very, very visual prompt, but for a specific area that our neurodiverse children will be struggling with. And my final nugget 4, looking at the whole area of sensory processing. Now, in the very short 2 minutes that I've got on this, it's impossible to go into this in full detail, but I will be doing an hour-long training session where we can unpack all these issues a lot more. But my final nugget would be just to say, have a think. Again, if you can imagine this for the whole class or the whole hall, this would be really difficult. But what are the particularly sensory processing issues that I've got going on? So if I have a pupil who normally has headphones, then please let them have that in the exam. If there are other sensory issues that are going on, like touch or smell, I need some noise. How can I make that happen? Can that be included in our access arrangements in the classrooms that we've got set aside for that? Really, really important that we look at everyone's individual sensory needs and how we can meet them. Now, within that comes so much more. But as I said, if you follow the link below, then you can see how to access the hour-long training that we will be doing later this month, looking at how to support our children who live with neurodiversity in this very difficult time of exams. I hope this has just given you a few things to think about, and I look forward to chatting with you more about this soon.